Hello. Short one today. Well, it was supposed to be yesterday, but hope everyone's doing okay. I'm doing good at the combine again. Oh, it's a different combine today. It's like your more traditional athletic feats of wonder. The 30-yard dash. Some sort of cone drills, some sort of strength and conditioning, testing. This is also a day where a lot of people are getting medical stuff, so doing all sorts of different MRI, X-ray testing kind of stuff, blood draw, that kind of stuff. So lots of stuff happening here at Chase Field. Tonight also is the regular season finale. Is that real? It's a penultimate episode? Second to last episode of VizBuzz, which, of course, once VizBuzz ends, I'll be a little sad, but hopefully we're ending on a pretty high note. So, anyway, questions for y'all. I think the first one, I'll answer one question today. On this one. This is the makeup for yesterday. I'm sorry I couldn't do one yesterday. It was a pretty long day, actually. These interviews are typically 30 minutes. And of course these are supposed to be around 30 minutes. So tried to not hope, because I wouldn't want a cancellation, but usually at the combine the draft prospects are doing all sorts of different interviews, doing stuff with MLB TV, MLB Network, so their schedules aren't there's a crane here, so maybe it's best for me to avoid this crane somehow. But anyway, look, there's a crane. That thing. I gotta avoid it somehow. So hopefully by the sorry, not hopefully by the end of today, but hopefully we are able to reschedule interviews with people. But the thing that does help is usually there's like if someone does reschedule, then that gives us 30 minutes. Yesterday we went from 7:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. no breaks, so no one rescheduled. It was all straight through, which that was a lot. That's a pretty heavy day. So back at it again, and we didn't have any reschedules, but we were able to get through several interviews quickly, because the people who we were interviewing, they were here available to be interviewed, and so we just did one right after another, and we actually gained 30 minutes of free time just now, which unfortunately for y'all means you get maybe a 20-minute pod. So I do owe y'all maybe a little longer one, which I'll probably do after VizBuzz tonight. So anyway, back to the question. Y'all asked me, okay, I don't think, am I gonna be able to get around this crane? I don't think so. We'll see. Looks a little perilous over here. Oh, actually, yeah. I should be able to do it. You know what? Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just chill. But you could get a good look of the other side of the combine. Look, people are doing some strength and conditioning testing of some sort. So, question was about what is, like, if you are measuring success of a project, what is success? It's pretty hard in the world of data science, or in the world of sports analytics, or in my specific job in the world of baseball, because you would assume, like, you develop a model, you push out a report, coaches and players see it, they understand why it's valuable, they implement it, you're better, you win games, right? Like, they would assume that that's the transaction, but that's not exactly the transaction, because there's so many steps between you making something that seems like it has signal, something that seems that's relevant to your process, your team's process, out to the ability to actually implement that and use that, whether it's with the coaches, the players, other staff. It's pretty hard. So because there's so many checks between you developing it all the way out to the implementation, that actually does give you a lot of reps when it comes to or not reps, but it gives you a lot of checkpoints for project success. So, for example, similar to a lot of science and research labs, like, you always want to start with some sort of pilot study. So we do a lot of piloting, a lot of R&D work. That does require a lot of, like, messing around with code, seeing what works, seeing what different implementation makes sense. It could be anything from, like, here's an idea, here's something that a coach said, here's a new package. Okay, that was very loud. It's another crane. See, the teams on the road, grounds crew and ballpark ops, they do a lot of maintenance and upkeep on the park, because typically it's a lot of large machinery and very loud. So doing it when the team's on the road is good, but the team is on the road right now, Arizona Diamondbacks, but the MLB Combine is happening, so it's kind of busy. Definitely not as busy as if there were, 20,000 people here, but it is busy. So, anyway, so once you start with the pilot studies, the next thing is making sure that if you found signal at all, right? Say it's like you found a cool package and you want to implement the new package. Let's just say a new package. Let's say you want to go from making something in XGBoost. You heard about this cool machine learning package called CatBoost. You want to see whether CatBoost and a tuned CatBoost model beats out your tuned XGBoost model. Simple project. You know what the features are going to be. You see a model that is a candidate for this. You're switching over basically the packages, and you create some test. Okay, that's fair. You could definitely do that. Then the next thing is, once you have that, it needs to go into review, right? So you review it, someone reviews it with you, maybe a group of people review it with you, and then you ultimately assess whether or not the impact of that project is meaningful to push forward into the next version or the next part of the project life cycle. So this is kind of the first mark of success, right? Like, if you have this project, you get it this far, people validate it, and people say, you know what, this was a good project, but it's just the juice is not worth the squeeze. XGBoost is good. CatBoost has minimal gains or maybe equal gains, so it's not really worth all the refactoring time. You should work on other projects. Okay, if that's it, then the project didn't fail. That was really important, actually. You tested something, you tried to implement it, and people reviewed it, and now it's just something that a box is checked, and that's good. You did all the work very successfully. So congrats, you did it, right? That is one benchmark. Now, if it's the case that it was good and switching out into a new model type is actually something that seems to be valuable, so now rather than saying XGBoost is good enough, don't do anything, now it's CatBoost is great, let's switch out this model for a CatBoost framework as opposed to an XGBoost framework. Okay, now you have another checkpoint to head towards, right? Which is get through the refactor, submit the PR, have someone code review, and this is a little more traditional programming, computer science-y, change the lines of code, have someone diff the code, leave comments, and then push, right? Like, this becomes a little more like known in all sort of programming industries. You're gonna put a commit in, and then a PR goes up, and then someone reviews it. Okay. And then that's another checkpoint. So you're now tasked with the actual work, which is refactor and implement this new thing. All right, and then that goes through, and that's a success. At that point, like, there is a possibility of failure, right? Like, versioning is an issue, or maybe this worked in one environment, but for whatever reason doesn't replicate in another environment. Maybe it is like, statistically this is better, but maybe for whatever reason GPU processing doesn't work with the model type we need in CatBoost versus XGBoost. There are so many different reasons why you could fail, but a lot of those things, one, hopefully if your pilot testing is scrutinizing enough, then hopefully you would avoid some of these version issues or DevOps related issues or DevRel related issues. This is the other side of the park now. Wait, oh, there they are. They're all over here. So hopefully you could avoid a lot of that, but in the case where you don't avoid any of that, and you find this as you're trying to refactor and push into prod, that's sort of where you have to kind of start overcoming other success hurdles now, right? Like, is it a version update that you need? Is it dependencies you need to update? Is it an environment you need to update it? If you're a team where maybe your environment's controlled by IT, your environment is in the cloud and it's controlled by a third-party software, this is where, like, you're going to need some more collaborative effort in order for you to ultimately push through your refactor. So there's another layer of this where sometimes success isn't just you doing all the work, but it could be success where if the project needs to end up being successful, you need a lot of different people to collaborate on it. So that's the next kind of tier of success. Now, let's just say you get through all of that, you pushed it, everything works. Now you're getting to the point of like, all right, well, it's building the report or it's putting the info into the database. What now? Well, this maybe populates all the reports already. If so, great. Now you just have to cross your fingers that it actually does scale and work everywhere, right? However, say you did all this and it's like, okay, well, while we're doing this, this gives us time to prioritize updating a document for data visualization, for moving from like a static graph to like an interactive graph, however you want to do it, however you imagine this to be. So now you're talking about, it's not just technical side people working on this. Now you're talking about people who are probably non-technical stakeholders. And these would be decision-making people, coaches, players, whomever is non-technical would be the recipient of this info. Them getting the info, using it, updating the communication side of it all. So, and this might not be you anymore. This might be another team that does this, but there is success in terms of that too, right? Like, what does the report look like? How do the numbers look? Is there some sort of way to communicate the numbers? Is it a visual way? Is it some tabular way? Is it some sort of graphical way? Like, what should it look like? And how is that going to be received by whomever the stakeholder is? So once you get to that part, then I do feel like maybe you're doing that, maybe you're helping collaborate on that, but sometimes that's not even you doing it. But let's just say it is. Success there now looks like iterations of data viz development, dashboard development, whatever, right? So there are so many different layers of success. It's not just I'm doing this project, I push the code, it's done, but you have even more frequent checkpoints in between, right? So anyway, that's my thoughts on success. Now, there's another part of this where rather than talking about the success of a project in terms of someone developing it, you can actually talk about success of a project in terms of like starting an entire department who works on projects, right? Which is maybe a little bigger than the question of like, what does success in a project look like? So success in a place that's supposed to deliver many projects, what does that look like? And that becomes a little harder, right? Because like, what is the department goal, right? If you're starting a brand new data science or analytics department, what should it look like, and how should you ultimately piece the workflow together? And so for me, a lot of the workflow I just talked about would be like kind of core principles of how people should deliver projects, but how do you measure whether or not someone's committing to those principles beyond just doing their work, doing their job? There's also like teaching how to do a lot of this stuff, right? So are people who are in your department also able to teach others how to chunk out their projects into smaller bites in order to show progress, right? Like, we know how to keep, like, all of us together, we're working on so many different projects, but if we chunk them down into smaller bite sizes, more people can work on these smaller pieces, even if they don't have specific domain expertise in whatever they may be working on. For example, in the Cat Boost scenario, someone might not be super familiar with Cat Boost, right? Or gradient boosting at all. All right, well, say someone's not familiar. Oh my God, there's this fucking fly that keeps flying around me. Say someone's not very familiar with Cat Boost or gradient boosting. Okay, what do you do? Well, if someone's not familiar with Cat Boost or gradient boosting, then maybe that's not the thing they're working on, but maybe they're working on like the database piece. Maybe they are familiar with like database ingest and stuff. So it's possible that you break down some of these spots in the project, and you're able to show like, all right, well, this smaller piece, like what success looks like here is, here's a working model that we save off, and I want this to push or take data from this one table, run through these functions, and then those outputs push into this other table. And if you have a system that does this, or if you can identify that this is a need, then it is possible for you to say like, hey, you know, here's a project for someone who's working on any database stuff, like here's another database layer that we could actually push towards. So there's a lot of different ways to talk about success. It's not just like one project, but it's many projects. It's not just a project you're doing, but it's how do you teach success through projects. So those are all things that I think are pretty important. Okay, I actually have to go. I know it's short, 19 minutes, but I do have to go. So I gotta go interview someone. So I'm gonna take off. Take it easy, y'all.